Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Beans. I believe this is one of the most beautiful pieces ever written. Love your videos. Thanks. I'm excited to get into this. I love beautiful music. Now, I've never heard of this group before, or artist, I suppose. It's kind of tough to tell with some of these. The artist is Gregor Samsa. The song is Abutting, Dismantling. Let's dive into it and see what Gregor Samsa is bringing to the table today. We have some subtle dynamic work going on here. This feels very isolating. Because of the syncopation on these big drums on the side, I kind of get a mix of 3 and 4 pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That gives us a 3 against 2 hemiola. I don't know if the 3 is strongly supported in the song, but I feel that subdivision in here. The cello's nice to bring that warmth in. Clarinet too, yeah. Beautiful combo. Very minimal chordal movement coming from the piano. A little bit of bright chirping, implying hope, possibly? Three vocal lines.
So
Tape hiss, the white noise going on. Oh no, that's a full-on. Well, it's a drone now. I don't know what it is. All right. I don't know that I have a lot to say about this one. We'll see where the discussion takes us, but it is single-minded. It has a direction that it's going in, and, well, not really a direction. It has an atmosphere it wants to resolve within. There is some directionality to it. The song does move slightly through some different vibes, variations on an atmosphere, I think we could call it. But generally speaking, this is a song that's happy to explore the place that it's in, without really needing or feeling the need to go anywhere else. It's happy right here, and it thinks that there's enough depth to find in this moment that it doesn't need to explore anything else. It is, at the end of the day, an atmospherically driven song. In ways, it reminds me of post-rock, a hyper-focus on atmosphere over really anything else compositionally, and it uses that one compositional technique of atmosphere for the entirety of a song. But I don't know if I'd classify this as post-rock because not a lot of rock going on in here. I'm curious what kind of genre this would be, but it certainly shares a lot of goals in and compositional concepts with post-rock. Now, one thing I really like in here is the building of the concept. We kick it off with this drone, just a single note, quarter notes is how I counted that. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, ba, 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 ba. And it has both a strong harmonic idea to it. There is more than one note here. It creates a bit of a chord, and I say a bit of a chord because it's sort of a small one. It's only a couple notes within it, but it also has physicality to it. There's a percussive nature to it, and it makes me wonder if there's more than one instrument here. Maybe something a bit more resonant with something that's a bit more directed, something that's a bit sharper in tone and really has that emphasis at the strike itself and less roll off. Whereas the other instrument would be a little softer in its attack, but would have that width to really continue existing after the notes have been played. The piano kind of captures both of these though. I think it's because the piano is technically a percussion instrument, but it's also string, and I don't know. The piano gets away with this sometimes, being percussive and harmonic simultaneously. But I also feel like there's a stacking of timbres going on. Regardless, we have some sort of multifaceted sound here that's hyperfixated on a single chord. We hear it over and over and over again. I mentioned that if you count the playing of this chord, you get a 4/4 time signature, but that I felt a 3/4 polyrhythmic device going on within it. And I think a little bit of that is what I initially called the slight syncopation of the drums. And I do think that plays a little bit into it, but the more that I listened, there's also some sort of echo delay going on with our piano sound too that creates a little bit of a rhythmic jarring element there. Regardless, as I stated, I don't think the 3 is very strongly present in here, but it is something that, well, honestly, my gut instinct while listening to this was to count it in 3. And that's when I realized that's probably not the best way to count it. It's just where I started first. I felt that polyrhythm for whatever reason. It doesn't take long, though, until I begin noticing that there's other instruments in play here, other sounds that are joining into this atmosphere, such as a cello and a clarinet. And I thought that that duo right there was really interesting, very resonant, and just a beautiful combination of timbres. Now, there has been another instrument that's been used here that I haven't talked about yet, and I think it's really interesting to note why. It's the vocals, but they're such a small part of the song. They're very light, very quiet, lots of falsetto going on, but the thing is that it's not just one vocal track. As we saw later into the song, there's multiple vocal tracks providing harmony, but also counterpoint of sorts. And we kind of get this conglomerate sound going on here where they're not really singing. It's kind of half spoken word, half rhythmic cadence, but it's not rapping. And there's just so many different vocals going off. Some of them are singing. There is that pitched rhythmic cadence to it, but there's some that is it's a lot of vocals. It feels overwhelming, but it's also so timid. And I think that's what really stands out to me, and why I didn't really talk too much about the vocals the first time they came up is because they exist within the song. They certainly fit within the atmosphere, but they're such a small part of all of it. And it's already a kind of a quiet song, but all these other instruments help build the song up, and the vocals kind of hide inside of the song. I think that's an interesting perspective on it. We've listened to music where the vocals in post end up getting mixed into the track, but this almost feels like the vocals are scared to be present at all. The delivery itself is small and quiet. I don't really think that there was too much in post needed to keep this vocal style in play here. The rest of the instruments are more bold, they're more vivid. Not the vocals, though. It's something that I don't see too often in music, and it immediately stands out to me in here. The only other thing to touch on, then, is going to be the atmosphere. What's going on in this track? What is it exploring? Honestly, I don't know about the intricate elements of the emotion. On the surface, this is very lonely. It's very isolating. I'm curious if anyone else has a specific emotion that they'd like to add to the conversation. And I'm looking forward to seeing the comments on this later on after people have watched it and commented on it and stuff. Because right now, to me, there's there is something that sits a bit more towards the middle of the emotional pendulum, where we have maybe less positive or negative emotions over here, stuff like sorrow and regret and remorse and anger. And then over here we have joy, positivity. And then in the middle we have other things, bittersweet and wistful, stuff that's kind of a little bit of both. But this feels right in the middle. It doesn't really feel positive. It doesn't really feel negative. But neutral is the exact wrong word, because that almost seems to imply there's no emotion in it. And there is. I don't have a word for it. There is a little bit of hurt to it, sure, but there's also some comfort, maybe. It's a tad bit of sorrow and timidness. Those might be a little more negative, but optimism's not the right word, but it's not devoid of hope either. I don't really have a word. I feel like I could create lists of what it is in some factions and what it isn't, but I don't have a word or even a couple of words, a phrase that would clearly define the emotional landscape here. I think that the album art is actually a really good showcasing of this. It's just sort of black and white. It's grayscale, but it's not bleak. It sort of just is, but it's not apathetic. This album art says something. It captures a specific feeling that just isn't an extreme one. And I think that the music is doing something similar along those lines. And I find it to be really interesting that despite the level of neutrality, the lack of extremity in the emotional resonance, that the vocals, even within that, feel too timid to be a part of that atmosphere. Something about the vocals themselves, again, just kind of feel like they don't want to be here. They're camera shy, microphone shy. Is that a thing? Recording booth shy. And yeah, I don't know. I can't say I've heard anything like this, but I'll definitely agree to a point with Beans, the requester. They had mentioned that this is one of the most beautiful things they've heard. It is definitely a beautiful track. I think I would need to spend more time with it and really find an emotional connection to it for me to enjoy it more. But it does hold some sort of beauty, some sort of truth to it. I can't put a word to it, and so I don't connect with it quite as strongly as it sounds like they do. But it's certainly emotionally evocative. I think I can give it that label. Now, before we get into the lyrics real quick, I had to look up the word abutting. I got the best definition for it: that which abutes. Fantastic. I had to look a little deeper then. Abutting means being adjacent to or sharing a common boundary with something else. I think it's interesting that this title then means to be next to something, to share this space with something, and then to dismantle that. Abutting, comma, dismantling. To reside next to destroy. Or I suppose it's not even that. Abutting is the present participle of this. It is an active stating right now. Well, I guess so is dismantling too. They both end in ing. They're both okay. I don't know, something about abutting to me, it feels like this is the state of things, and then dismantling is the action that is taken after that. So we were side by side, now we are dismantling things. But I suppose they're both in the same tense of speech, so I don't know. Let me hit some lyrics on this, see if I can't find anything interesting there that maybe unlocks some of the emotional language that's going on. There's a feeling of pain here in the lyrics, of wanting things to be better, than they were, maybe at the cost of an energy that you don't have to expend. It says, "This time I'll be more careful. I won't let us grow weary." So, let us grow weary is a relationship between two or more people. Us can be a lot. Although towards the end of the song, we shift to the second person you, so it might just be two people here. But that their relationship grew old, grew tired. This concept of growing is actually expanded upon as we focus on plant life and landscaping throughout a majority of this song. It says the neighbors clearly care for their own landscape. They perfectly shape and their perfect states. It leaves ours dry and blank. What a way to be loved. Almost as if wishing that this relationship had been nurtured the way that the neighbors have. And it's not necessarily about the neighbors' lawn and landscaping. I think that's just the metaphor that the song is, the lens that it's viewed through. But it says, these people take care of each other. They make sure to nurture the relationship so that they're strong. And that's not what we did. He says, what a way to be loved. And I wonder, there's two ways to read this. Either A, I wish I had been loved like that. Or B, I wish I had put that energy into the relationship and had loved you like that. And maybe both are true. From here, we leave the metaphor of the lawn. It says, in time, I will lose all focus, forgetting the memories that I had once missed. I'll see the end of all of this. Then you go. I'll stay and wait, wishing you'd had not left. There's a little bit of regret here, I think, but it's an interesting acknowledgement of understanding why this relationship didn't work. Not really doing anything to change it either. Perceiving all of this, knowing what you need to do in order to make things work, and then not doing that. There's no anger here at the end. There's a sad bit, or a bit of sadness to it. But it ultimately kind of feels complacent. It's distant. I think that's the word, not complacent. It's distant from it all. It says, I will see this end, and then you'll go, and I'll wish you had not left. It almost feels factual, matter of factly, like it's just stating facts. And that's interesting, because it does kind of have a numb element to it, which I can kind of feel in the music at times, just the state of being of things. But there's also pain here, there's loss. It says that they'll forget the memories that they once missed. To be wistful, to have that nostalgia for, a specific moment you had with someone that brings joy to you, and realizing eventually you'll forget that, especially as they've left your life. You're not building new memories either, and not seeing their face every day, that's also going to make the memories fade faster. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a type of almost apathetic depression, a way of dissociating from the pain. That might be what it is. And that's why there's sort of this vague neutrality to the music. Instead of dealing with the loss, instead of exploring the grief, you just distance yourself from it. You shove it down. You know it's there. You know you're sad, but you're not going to deal with it. And you just kind of take everything from a objective, factual position. Interesting. Well, At least these are my thoughts, anyways, on Gregor Samsa's Abutting, Dismantling, which I suppose that makes sense now. Two people adjacent to each other living life on the same path and then eventually dismantling that and taking their own routes through life. What are your thoughts on this, though? Does anything stand out to you? Is there anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own take on things, your own perspective or opinion on this song, musically or lyrically, or even both? Put all of that and any other thoughts you have about this down into the comment section. Above that, though, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. All right, that wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.